This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and now for something different. You don't see this too often anymore. This is the ePad by eReader. eReader? Two E's. eReader. So eReader is actually a new company name for a company that's existed in China for some time, since like 2005, whiskey, minus the H that you would have in the whiskey that you drink. And they make, well, LCDs, tech products, that sort of thing, and they work with Microsoft and some big OEMs, so I think they're legit. This is on Kickstarter right now. I don't cover Kickstarter stuff that often, though more often Kickstarter is being used to generate enthusiasm for products these days, and not really because they need funding. This one, their goal was only $10,000, which they achieved easily in the first day. They're up to about $337,000 now, and it's going to run until the end of April. But what this is a e-ink Android-based reader. It's a 10.3-inch display, and with access to full Android, which you don't usually see. Most of the time it's a proprietary kind of overlay on top of Android. You don't always have access to the full system. It has 4G LTE with a nano SIM card slot. It has a Wacom EMR pen, so battery-free pen, really good pressure curves, all that sort of thing. It's really pretty neat stuff. We're going to look at it now. So this has a Mobius Carta e-ink display, which is a good quality display. If you don't like the frequency with which it refreshes the page, you know, with e-ink displays, sometimes you see little remnants of previous letters and stuff like that very faintly. There's actually a little paintbrush icon on the top bar, and you can just tap that to refresh the screen if you ever see that and if it ever bothers you. It's fairly high resolution. Actually, the specs and the screen size are the same as the BOOX No Pro that I mentioned. And the PPI is good at 227, so it's a pretty sharp looking display. What sets you free with e-ink potentially is the fact that you really don't have glare. This is a very flat display, which is nice, and it's matte, so compared to an LCD you don't get glare. There's no backlighting, so it's not so tiring on your eyes. For those of you who spend a lot of time reading either books or graphic novels, manga, you get the idea. Even reading web pages, though, I still think e-ink is a little bit weird when you try to use this like you would an Android tablet, because the screen doesn't refresh at the usual 60 hertz. It's a lot slower with e-ink, so I don't think this is really an Android tablet replacement per se. Though obviously with the home screen you got the 4 tabs, one for the e-reading application, one for the notes application, one for settings, and one for your usual Android launcher there. You can access Google Play with this. I did that, logged into my account, I set up my Gmail, went to Google Play, downloaded a bunch of apps. You could do that, but really this thing is meant for reading books. For if you're happy to look at manga in grayscale, then, well, manga in grayscale. You get the idea. And also for note-taking, that Wacom EMR pen has 4,096 pressure levels. Again, it's a battery-free pen. So yes, it has excellent palm rejection as pens go that are available for technology these days. It's one of my favorite for art and that sort of thing. And as a grayscale kind of sketchbook, this thing could certainly have some appeal when third-party apps work a little bit better. The built-in notes program works really well and has a decent number of features, but I tried programs like Metabang Paint and Autodesk Sketchbook, and there was a lot of lag and a lot of delay on this. Since it is a standard Wacom EMR tablet PC kind of pen, that means that others will work if you have one from a tablet PC or if you have a Samsung S Pen, for example. Now the performance, when I mentioned that about seeing some lag in third-party applications, that's not really due to the CPU. It's a MediaTek Helio X20 CPU. That's a 10-core CPU. And that sits somewhere between a Snapdragon 400 and 600 series CPU. So obviously this is not a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus in terms of CPU performance, but that's more than enough for an e-reader and actually for those sketching programs to work just fine. Now this thing is a work in progress. So right now their eReader app, which is supposed to support a whole bunch of formats listed on screen, only supports a few of those right now. And right now it doesn't have any inking on your ebook feature, which would be nice. You can use Adobe Acrobat Pro on PDFs to do that. Amazon's own Kindle program works just fine, but I would really like to see them add that feature. In terms of page turn speed, it's not as fast as a Kindle at this point. Again, they have until August 2019 to work on those things, and that's using the Kindle app both on a Kindle Paperweight and on the ePad. It's not terrible, and to be fair, it also is having to draw a lot more text, because with a 10.3-inch screen, you get a lot more words on screen than you do with a little Kindle Paperweight. They say it's going to ship with Android 8.0 Oreo, granted. It's not the latest 9.0 Pie, but that certainly beats the BOOX, which is still running Android 6. Really? really. So that's pretty good. But right now the version that we have is Android 7.1.1. It is a early prototype device. It is not the release product. One oddity about this is currently it only works in portrait orientation. It doesn't switch to landscape orientation if you want to do two facing pages or sketch in landscape mode, for example. A little bit odd. I've reached out to them and asked them about this. So how much does this thing cost? Right now on Kickstarter it starts at $4.49. You know, Kickstarter means a discount price. That's how they get you to participate now instead of waiting for the retail launch. And that's for the base unit, which has 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage. It does have a micro SD card slot, so you can expand it. I put ebooks and documents on that SD card at 32 gig, and it worked just fine. There is also a 4 gigs of RAM with 64 gig storage option, and the pen is $30. Now the final prototype is going to have front lighting. Right now they have 2 versions, with and without front lighting. So they originally estimated that their price would be $6.99, and given that the books and the Sony eReader start around $5.99, that sounds a little high to me, but they said their pricing is flexible, so hopefully the price will drop down. So one of the neat things about this is unusual is it has 4G LTE with a nano SIM card slot, same carrier as for the micro SD card slot, and it's unlocked, and it supports quite a large number of LTE bands, including plenty for the US. It should work on AT&T and T-Mobile, and it even has Verizon's bands. They still need to get the software going with that because there's an older version of Android right now. The APN list and stuff like that really wasn't up to date, so I'll wait judgment on that, but that is a pretty neat feature to have. Unlike some e-readers, this actually does have speakers at the bottom, 2 speakers. Now they have absolutely no bass, but hey, at least there are speakers. There is no headphone jack and there are no physical volume controls. You can control the volume software-wise like any Android device. And for headphones, you can use the USB-C port, which does support USB on the go, by the way, so you can plug in a flash drive if you wanted to. But you can plug in USB-C headphones, or if you have a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter adapter for your headphones, that will work as well. For those of you who are into Audible, of course, that's pretty important, and for some folks who like to listen to music while they're reading. Battery life, 4,100 milliamp battery. That's a pretty large battery. Now, e-ink devices usually last a long time. Of course, it depends on whether you're using 4G LTE and how much you're hitting up the Wi-Fi. Ours is a prototype, so battery life I'm not going to comment on yet until they have it ready. But typically, e-ink devices, you talk in terms of weeks, not in terms of hours of battery life. So it should last at least a week on a charge with moderate use versus a day with an Android phone. Who knows, maybe it'll even last longer. A basic Kindle Paperwhite can go as long as 2 weeks if you use it for reading, say, 2 hours a day. So that's the ePad. There you have it. I'm always happy to see another e-ink alternative, and one that gives you something like 4G LTE, full access to Android, and a more recent version of Android that you would find on the BOOX Note Pro, something like that. And, you know, the Sony eReader, like I said, they kind of have a very proprietary operating system going on. So this is pretty much very versatile. However, they have until August 2019 to get the bugs worked out with this, the quirks and all that sort of thing. So I'm not saying go ahead and jump on Kickstarter. Now, that's up to you if you do. I never push products that are on Kickstarter, but it's relatively safe. But I would keep your eyes open for this, certainly in August 2019, when the full version should release. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and pens up if you like this vid.